Here we are, Agustinus. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank
Oh,
you.
my.
I'm so glad to be here.
Indeed. Now, before you share the tips to write a good and compelling travel story, I would like to take you back, way back, probably almost 20 years ago, when you started, when you discovered your love of traveling. I mean, what was the first country that you visited, and what was your experience, and what prompted you to write down these experiences?
Yeah, so I lived in China before as a student. Back then in year 2003, there was a summer holiday, so I was thinking of going to Afghanistan. The Taliban regime was toppled down by the US invasion in 2001, so it was quite a, crazy adventure to go to Afghanistan in 2003, just 2 years after the Taliban. And and after that, I saw Afghanistan was totally different from what I saw from the media, and I realized it was a very beautiful country with very nice people, and I felt that there was so many precious experience that I learned in Afghanistan that I wanted to share. So that's how I started to be a photojournalist, and then eventually I became a writer.
Very briefly, what was that one precious experience that you remember until now about Afghanistan that clearly most of us globally we don't know, because every time we watch the media, when we talk about Afghanistan, we talk about terrorism, we talk about Taliban, we talk about attacks, we talk about war. But I'm sure, and as you know, it's so much more than that.
Yeah, Afghanistan is a very historical country, and it was the center of civilization. So Afghanistan was the land, very important and sacred land of the Buddhist religion. So Buddhism developed in Afghanistan first, even before China knew Buddhism. Buddhism started from India, spread to Afghanistan. It was developed there, and the culture of making Buddha statues started in Afghanistan. Then Buddhism spread to Central Asia, and from Central Asia it spread to China. So it was amazing. Now many people forgot the history, as Afghanistan was a center of Buddhist civilization. And it is also a very important part of the Silk Road.
That's amazing. That's the first, that was during the first century, right? When Buddhism first
And there was a very huge statue, the tallest standing Buddha statues in Bamiyan in Afghanistan, that was exploded by the Taliban in 2001. I went there, and the feeling was very painful to see just this kind of historical site was totally destroyed only 2 years before I arrived.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So take us back as well, since you're taking us back a few years here. When you decided to share your travel experiences through literature, you obviously have a background of being a journalist, and you're, I'm sure, a great writer. But what about, like, how does one even start? If somebody wants to do this, I'm sure there's a lot of benefits. For example, you can focus a lot more as to what's going on, as opposed to just be trying to take pictures all the time. But at the same time, how do you file away all of these experiences, and how do you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to write about?
I didn't start as a journalist. My background was a computer science.
Oh, okay.
Being a writer doesn't mean that you have to be journalist first.
Okay.
So I learned all of the techniques from the road. So I wanted to be a photojournalist. Then I could capture the moments like these pictures. And after that, I learned that for being a good writer, it's not enough that you have a sensual observation. So first, it's very important that you really observe things and you really feel your experience. But the other thing that is very important for writer is you can see your experience from the bigger picture. So after you experience all of your experience on the road, you meet these people, you see these places, it's also very important for you to contemplate the meaning of your experience. So what is the meaning of this experience for me? And what is the meaning of this experience for public in general? Because you don't need to share all of your details of daily activity on the road.
Right.
Because it will be very boring for your readers.
Right. It's like a list of things.
Yeah, I wake up at this time, I eat this.
I had bagels in the morning for breakfast in New York.
Yeah, it is like when you were given homework when you were in primary school by your teacher. But for writer, no, it's not enough.
I suppose it's because it's not a travel guide. Like they have those out there as well, right?
But you know, yes, but I think that's the thing, right? I mean, each writer has his or her own style, because some people might want to sort of like have this Lonely Planet style where it's like, go to this place, go to that place, this is the price and all that. But yours is very interesting because it mixes your contemplation, like
Yeah.
like the meaning
Yeah.
of these travels for you, but at the same time, it's also very informative. Could you please give us an example of the process of your writing? For example, when you're writing about when you were traveling the borders of Indonesia, it's like how do you combine the stats, right? The facts, but also at the same time making it super engaging. That is it feels very human and easy to read.
Before you travel, if you want to be a writer, you need to have a preparation. You just don't go to places and then expect that you experience nice things that you can write about.
Okay.
So before going, it's very important to know what you're going to write, what you want to learn. So before I started my journey in Papua New Guinea, for example, I wanted to know the meaning of the border between Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. We see on the map it's a straight line with the little birds and and what it actually means. So I went to the border and then I traveled, I stayed with the people, and then I interacted with them. It was a very difficult journey, and then I had to do many of really dangerous adventures actually. Such as hitchhiking canoes, because there were no road. It was totally jungle over there and no road, and the only way to travel is by river, and there was no boat, no public boat, public ship that you can buy the ticket, no. So I came to one village, I wait for this villager to go to the next village by boat, so I took their boat and then go to the next village and so on. One time I ended up in a refugee camp of the West Papuan from Indonesian side of the border. Many of them were supporters of this Free Papua movement. And I was alone, I didn't even know. I arrived there alone, and then of course they suspected me as being an Indonesian because they're fighting against Indonesian government. But by communication, I got accepted by them, I sat with them, and I learned to see the history from their perspective. So when I want to write about this, I have to contemplate what is the real meaning of this experience for me and for others. For example, the meaning of border, why we became separated, why people are different, why there are countries, and why people are suppressed because of different identities. So this kind of contemplation is becoming the bigger picture. So when I want to convey my stories, I follow these questions, and slowly it gives some kind of contemplation, but not the direct answer. And then by doing this, your story will be very much focused. The readers will get your idea, your message, but in a very hidden way, and it will be much deeper in their subconscious mind.
As a journalist, right, we are always trained to be neutral.
Yeah.
As a journalist, but you're also a travel writer. Do you infuse your subjective judgment into your writing?
Yeah. For creative nonfiction, it's not like journalism reportage. It's more like
is it literary journalism?
Yeah. It's kind of essay, and as a literary journalism of creative nonfiction, of course, subjective judgment is very important. You have to have your point of view. You have to have your perspective, and you have to defend your argument. But then you have to be very objective as well. You have to give all of the context, all of the historical background, so people can see that you are not blindly subjective, but you have the reason, and of course you need to have message. Otherwise, there is no such travel writing. It's just like reportage.
Yes, fascinating.
And I guess that journalistic instinct is just still that underlying, it's just there, because that's what makes you ask these questions to yourself. A lot of the places that you've named so far, the Papuan-Indonesian border, Afghanistan, even the former Soviet Union, if we're not mistaken. What's the process like of you choosing where you would like to go and spend a significant amount of time? Because a lot of these places are not necessarily on people's travel lists as well. However, it does invoke a lot of these questions. If you are there, a lot of these emotions that you normally wouldn't get if you were, say, go to Hawaii or Bali, right?
You have a very personal story on this.
Yeah. So in fact, I don't really plan. If I don't really know where I'm going. That's the question. Sometimes I go, but really like impulsive. Like when I went to Afghanistan, for example, I was just in Pakistan, and then people said, "Yeah, Afghanistan is easy to visit now." Then I came to Afghanistan. So really, I didn't have plan. But now, if I look back from my earlier experience, I think there is a connection with, as you said, my personal experience. I was raised as a Chinese Indonesian here. I was raised with this question of identity during that time, whether I'm Chinese or whether I'm Indonesian, and then with this kind of racial discrimination and this kind of conflicts. It was questions inside me. What is the meaning of identity? So now if I observe again my past experience of traveling, I tend to visit conflict places, border areas, and then I'm also gravitated towards the minorities because I think I saw my reflection there. Because the conflicts, because of the border and then minority is all reflecting my own identity. And by seeing their conflicts, I started to understand what is the meaning of my own conflict, and I can make peace with my own conflicts. So I think traveling is kind of a healing for me as well.
How long did it take for you to realize that, hey, you know, I'm healed? Because I remember you telling me when you were a child, you were quite protected by your parents. You couldn't really go out freely. You would always be with, you know, with your nanny and all that. You used to be very afraid going out. But look at you now, right? It's like, what, 30, 35 years later, you are out here and traveling to all these exotic places that very, very few people think about. You know, how long did it take for you to realize that, hey, I'm actually feeling all right now. I feel quite free and I'm okay.
I think it's a process. It's just not like immediately. First, I think my stepping point was I went to China to study. And when I was in Indonesia, I was thinking that I'm Chinese because of the discrimination. When I walk on the street, people would say,
People would say it's
China.
you.
Yeah, then of course, yeah, I'm Chinese there. But then I came to China, I was treated like Indonesian.
You're like, oh, they're Chinese.
Yeah, foreigner, yeah. And then I started to see like the culture is different, the way of life is different. For example, at that time, the Chinese people like to spit a lot. And when I was a kid, my parents said, no, you should not spit. We Chinese never spit. But when in China, everybody spit. And then I started, well, are we the same Chinese?
Right.
So this is the first step, like, okay, identity is something very fluid. It can change, yeah? It depends on where you are, depends on your story, depends on your environment. Then also being in China, I started to feel that I have the courage to travel by my own. But the real healing process, I think, is through writing. Through writing. It's not only by visiting the places, but when I contemplate my experience, because writing is a different process from traveling. When traveling, you just observe. Then when you do the writing, you have to replay all of the memory inside your head, and then you have to keep asking questions and keep debating with yourself. So when I write my stories, I also have to debate with myself the real question inside me, my inner questions, and what is the answer. And that is the process of healing.
How long does it take to write a book this thick? Because all of your books tend to be very thick. They're like serious writing, man.
This one is 2 years.
This one is 2
Yeah,
years.
0. This one is going to make us a movie soon. Yeah.
Wow! Oh my God, how
Are you
exciting!
in need of a female lead? Because I know someone.
I can be one of the travelers.
Well,
I can play a man. I can play you if you like. Anyway, this book, right? The Ticknall, the one that is going to be made into a movie very soon. There is a very interesting quote here, Agus. Perjalananku bukan perjalananmu. My journey is not your journey. Perjalananku adalah perjalananmu. My journey is your journey. What does that mean?
It sounds conflicting.
I'm very confused.
You're very confused. So yeah, everybody journey is different. Like the places I visit, my life experience is all different. Like I went to Afghanistan. Maybe you never think of going there.
No.
Yeah, I never.
Especially now.
I never be a presenter. You become presenter. So everybody journey is different.
Yeah.
But if you see from the bigger perspective, everybody journey is similar. We all have the same dream. We all dreaming of being happy. We have all the fear. And if you see even in the conflict areas, the people that you think they are terrorists, like in Afghanistan, they also have their own fun. They're the same like us. They like to be happy. They like to hang out.
Yeah.
They also cry for the same things. They also have their own suffering.
Yeah.
So when you can see the mirror of the journey in everybody's, it's all the same, then you will develop a tolerance. You don't see people from the identities, but you see people as people.
Yes. You see people as people.
Makes perfect sense now.
Quite
That
divine,
sentence
isn't it?
that was very confusing to me
Exactly.
now makes perfect
Now
sense.
it makes perfect sense.
So this is going to be adapted into a film.
Yeah.
So you're going to be, how involved are you going to be in that?
Well, I'm involved in the process of the script writing as well. I'm not the script writer, but also
Right.
I help the script writers to do this because this is my memoir. In
Yes.
Yes.
memoir. Yes.
I heard that this is the most famous with Indonesian readers.
Yeah,
Because
so-
it's reflective
Yeah.
and it's quite emotional.
So
How lovely.
This is obviously like it took years to create this. You had to take a couple of years off due to the pandemic because
Yeah.
it's definitely not in line with what
Yeah.
you do. When can we expect you to start doing this again? Do you have any thoughts looking ahead? This is where I want to go next. I know you said you're quite spontaneous when it comes to travel, but perhaps do you have any plans looking ahead?
Yeah, I think pandemic changed people, changed a lot to me, and I realized that somehow I had a kind of existential crisis because
During the pandemic?
during the pandemic because I feel now I realize I started to learn about my personality and psychology. I learned that my source of happiness is when I learn new things and I see new things, I meet new people, and I learn new things, I contemplate things. And this didn't happen during my pandemic. I only stay at home and then like doing the things that I don't really enjoy, like stock trading, and then I get totally like a different life and not get stressed because of money. It's like
Right, that's not like the last thing you want to be
and
doing.
lots of cut loss, and oh my god. And yeah, I'm dreaming of traveling again. I'm dreaming of refreshing my perspective and becoming my old me.
Yes. So does it mean that after that existential crisis, it's going to the new you, let's say the new you, we will see in future works? Because I heard that you're writing new books very soon.
I'm writing 2 books at the same time now.
Oh my, what prolific
Because
writer.
Because of the
It's just too
pandemics,
easy.
yeah, I have to do it. I'm writing a book an essay book on the meaning of identity. So it's kind of like observing our country. What is the meaning of country? What is the meaning of border? What is the meaning of religion? Like questions.
Yes.
The other book is about to see Indonesia from outside the border. So we live in Indonesia, but if you ask what is the meaning of Indonesia, it's very hard to answer. Most Indonesians never travel and see the whole country because it's so big. But I want to see Indonesia from outside the border. So
How do you do that? From where? Suriname?
I started from Papua New Guinea, and then after I was in Papua New Guinea, I met this separatist movement over there. I went to Holland to meet the leader of Free Papuan movement, and I met the Malukun diaspora in Holland. And then I also went to Suriname because when I was in Holland, one Javanese Surinamese told me that in Suriname, the Javanese Muslim pray towards 2 directions. So some people pray towards the west and some people pray towards the east. Maybe it's the only place in the world that they have 2 qiblat.
How come?
Yeah, because actually if you see geographically, they should pray toward the east because Mecca is on the east.
Right.
The majority of them still pray towards the west because the ancestors in Java pray towards the west. So when they arrive in Suriname, they want to preserve the identity from their ancestors, the Javanese ancestors, so they still pray towards the west.
That's so fascinating. When is this going to be released again? I cannot wait.
Oh, okay. Hopefully next year.
Okay.
It's a new pressure for me.
I'm so sorry.
I will have a deadline. Yeah, it's good to have a deadline.
One of our production team mentioned that while you were in Papua New Guinea, there was something unique you found in the language there. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, the Papua New Guinea is the most diverse country in the world in terms of language.
Okay.
So Papua New Guinea has 840 languages. It's number 1 in the world. Indonesia is second, has 700 something languages. Papua New Guinea is much smaller with 840 languages. So you can walk only 5 kilometers and they speak totally different language. And they don't have kind of like bahasa Indonesia as their uniting language. So the most common use now in Papua New Guinea is stock pisin or a broken English. So,
can you give us an example?
Yeah, the broken English is interesting because the talk pisin has a very limited vocabulary, and then they have to be very creative in creating the words. For example, when you see hair, they say grass belong head. So the grass belong head.
Grass
Yeah.
that belongs.
Grass belong head.
Wow.
So shampoo is grass belong, soap belong grass belong head.
Soap belong, grass belong head.
Right, that makes sense. You're just
Yeah.
using less words, but to describe other
But that's
things.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost makeshift.
Exactly.
Yeah, hospital, house sick.
How sick?
Hospital, house sick.
Rumah
And-
sakit.
Yeah, rumah sakit, house sick. It's the same like Indonesian, but when they say the veterinary hospital, it's
Yeah.
house dog sick.
Wow.
House dog sick, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I spend like 1 month in Papua New Guinea, I can speak their language just
I
like
think
that.
my
no?
kid speaks that language.
And voila, already, you know?
Yeah,
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. For example, piano is big pela bokis. Suppose you fighting, me cry.
What?
one more time.
Big pela bokis. Suppose you fighting, me cry. Big pela means big. Bokis box. Big box. Suppose if big box. If you fight, he will cry. So the big box.
Oh, like if you fight, he will cry.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes a noise like
Fascinating.
the music is
Yeah,
crying. Oh, you are so cute. It's adorable.
Big pela bokis. Suppose you fighting, me cry.
Wow,
That's
that
to
is
say
That's
piano.
a long way to say piano.
That is like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I can't even say it.
It's amazing that you're very fluent in it.
I know.
So we keep asking you these questions. You are a wonderful storyteller.
Yeah.
Just even sharing your anecdotes with us. It's so much fun to hear about all of them. And I suppose that is why your books are so popular.
So popular. How many languages do you speak? Foreign languages?
Well, I learned a lot of languages, but now I speak fluently, not many. I speak quite fluent in Chinese and Persian.
Okay.
But in the past, I used to speak a lot of in Russian and Urdu. I also learned Tokpisin. Now I hardly speak Tokpisin, but I still can understand when I read Tokpisin.
I would love to talk like that to everyone. Just back to basics.
House dog sick.
Yeah, take your dog to the house dog.
The house dog sick. Exactly.
So cool.
Wow, fascinating. Wow, you have a rich, fascinating, fulfilling life. Agus, would you agree?
Thank you very much. I think it's the old me that I want to return.
Oh.
Don't lose that part of you because it's amazing. It should be more like you. Anyway, so you guys can know more. Obviously, there's plenty of literature out there that has been written by Mas Agus, and we look forward to many more.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely look forward to seeing Indonesia from the point of view of the outside. That would be interesting because we were born here, we live here. We always see it from our point
You
of
always
view.
look outwards. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Fascinating
Thank you.
person you are.
It's really glad to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Blast. Anyway, we're going to take another short break here. We're going to recap some of our local news for you when we return. So stay tuned to the C Morning Show. We'll be right back.